Nashville, Tennessee, the music city, country music capital, home of the Grand Ole Opry, and that good old Nashville hot chicken. And of course, you can't forget about its famous main street, Broadway. But as Nashville has grown in popularity and population, it is increasingly becoming known for something else. It's traffic. Interstates 40, 65, and 24 all cross at the heart of Nashville, forming a full loop around the core city. And this loop, which once did a great job of handling this convergence of interstate highways, now has become a traffic flow nightmare. So in this video, we're going to discuss the issues with this system of interstates in Nashville, why it can no longer handle the demands of this fast-growing metro area, and what Tennessee officials are trying to do about it.
Before we get into things, let's talk about what we have here. First, we have the cross-continental Interstate 40. This is the primary east-west route for the area and the most important highway in Tennessee. It is also a heavily traveled truck corridor, which connects Nashville with Memphis and Knoxville. Interstate 65 is the primary north-south interstate. It connects Nashville to areas such as Birmingham and Louisville, and also handles the largest amount of suburban commuters of all of Nashville's interstates, as the I-65 corridor has significant suburban sprawl, both to the north and south of Nashville proper. And the other primary interstate is I-24. Though not a cross-country interstate like the others, it runs diagonally across the Nashville area and connects it with places such as Clarksville, Murfreesboro, and Chattanooga. And it also connects the area to Atlanta via I-75. Other major highways include the I-440 Southern Loop, the Briley Parkway, and the large Interstate 840 loop. The three main interstates all converge into this ellipse-shaped loop around downtown, which at various points carries one or a concurrency of two of those highways. While Interstate 440 bypasses downtown to the south and is signed as a bypass for I-40, it can sometimes take just as long or even longer to navigate this roadway. Interstate 840 is a long outer bypass, which was originally proposed as a full outer beltway for Nashville to avoid an Atlanta-like situation to where an outer beltway is needed, but too much development has now made it impossible. However, only the southern segment of this beltway was constructed. So what's the problem with this system in Nashville today? Well, back when it was originally designed, the Nashville area was much smaller than it is today. The Nashville area sat at only 780,000 people in 1970. And at that time, this system did an excellent job of handling the area's travel demands. You could roll into Nashville, cruise around the loop, and be on your way. But as Americans began flooding into the southern United States in the late 20th century, Nashville was one of the top New South cities, and today sits at over 2 million people and counting, even overtaking Memphis as the state's top city and metro area. However, for the most part, its roadway network has stayed the same. And like most American cities, the majority of the growth looks like this. Single-family homes and massive subdivisions, along with the associated strip malls and shopping destinations. Which, if you've been watching this channel for a while, we know that this style of development equals 1 to 2 cars per home added to the roads. The first thing you're probably thinking is, if the demand for capacity is higher, then why haven't they just added capacity in the form of additional lanes? Well, they have done this actually on pretty much all of their interstates. However, the situation in Nashville is more complex than simple capacity demands. As we saw in Atlanta, when you have major interstates running concurrently in a large metro area, the results can be less than ideal. In the case of Nashville, we don't have the scenario of one long concurrency, but rather these problem nodes. The nodes or interchanges are where the interstates intersect in the area. Tennessee used these Y-type interchanges when designing the interstates in the Nashville area. And to save on costs and simplify the design, these Y interchanges feature several left exits, which are disastrous for traffic flow, leading to complicated and sometimes dangerous merging patterns, along with trucks and other large vehicles being forced into left lanes at times, causing additional disruptions to overall traffic flow. For example, let's take a look at what is required to stay on Interstate 40 traveling westbound through Nashville. First, at I-24, we have a left exit to reach I-24 eastbound, meaning any vehicles, including trucks, will need to move into the left lanes in order to reach that highway. I-24's westbound lanes then join I-40 from the left, Whether these are trucks, slow moving cars, or whatever, everything comes in from the left. So you can already see that slower traffic keeping right is impossible in Nashville. Then while on this concurrency with I-24, we must then cross over into the left lanes to stay on I-40, as the right lanes will then exit right for Interstate 24 westbound, leading to significant weaving in this concurrent section. Now, the good thing here is that traffic from I-24 eastbound to I-40 westbound merges in seamlessly. However, any traffic from I-40 wanting to exit onto 2nd or 4th Avenue is required to make a dangerous weave into the right lanes to make it to that exit. Then immediately afterwards, we get the left lanes exiting to I-65 south. If you're not seeing it yet, so far this has been a constant crisscrossing and dangerous weaving the whole way. You'll have traffic coming from downtown, as well as some still coming off I-24 trying to make their way to this I-65 left exit. Now, like I-24, I-65's northbound lanes will merge in from the left. This concurrent section with I-65 is one of the worst, as the upcoming exits take you to Broadway and other popular downtown destinations, meaning that traffic entering from I-65 will be attempting to cross several lanes to reach those exits. Also keep in mind that any truck traffic from I-65 will also end up in the left lanes. And then finally, where Interstate 65 leaves, it leaves in the right lanes, while I-40 continues west in the left lanes. So this means that the traffic that entered into the left lanes at the earlier interchange with I-65 will have had to cross into the two right lanes at some point in order to remain on I-65. The Interstate 65 southbound to Interstate 40 westbound traffic will join us from the left, so this merge isn't as problematic as some of the others. But we're not in the clear yet. At I-440, we have yet another left exit. Fortunately, this is a less popular movement, so traffic still flows at this interchange decently well. And after this, the last major interchange is with the Bradley Parkway, which has proper modern flyover ramps and no left exits. And to no surprise, it's rarely congested like the other interchanges. So from here on out, we are in the clear. Now, with what we have done with Interstate 40, you can extrapolate that out to the other two primary interstates, except the I-440 thing thrown into the mix south of downtown. The I-65 and I-440 interchange has been rebuilt with modern flyovers and such to where it doesn't have the merging issues of the downtown loop. However, this interchange is limited by the capacity of these said flyover ramps. Most are only one lane, but the movement, particularly from I-65 northbound to I-440 eastbound, could use a 2-lane ramp. But the biggest disaster and cluster in the entire metro area is here, where I-440 meets I-24 and Interstate 40 is immediately afterwards. In 2024, this area ranked 5th as the worst bottleneck in the country for trucks, which if you look at this list, Nashville is by far the smallest metro area with a bottleneck that ranks this high. Los Angeles, Atlanta, Chicago, New York, and Nashville? Yes, it's that bad. But let me show you while I tell you. I drove this section so that you don't have to. Heading west at I-440, we do have to use the left lanes to get onto I-24. But it's not much issue here as the interstate terminates here as well. So the flyover ramp is also 2 lanes. Not bad, right? Where here lies the issue. The second lane ends right before the merge area with I-24. Immediately following is the exit for Interstate 40 eastbound. So what you're going to experience here is drivers from I-24 trying to cross into the right lanes to get onto I-40, along with traffic from I-440 that wants to continue on I-24 trying to cross into the left lanes. So effectively you have a lane drop, then a merge, followed by another merge from the left, making this ramp the most congested spot in the Nashville area. There can also be backup on the ramp getting onto I-40 eastbound. All the more reason why you're better off just staying on Interstate 40 in most cases. So now that we know about Nashville's roads and where the problems are, what can or has been done to try to improve things? Well, first, let's talk about transit. By 2017, traffic had moved to the top of concerns for most people in Nashville, culminating in 2018's Let's Move Nashville referendum proposed by then Mayor Megan Barry. This plan proposed $8.9 billion to build multiple bus and light rail stops between 2018 and 2032. The plan would have included 26 miles of light rail and 25 miles of bus rapid transit, as well as additional funding for local buses and the existing Music City Star commuter line. And the program was going to be funded mostly by a 0.5% sales tax increase, which would have made the total sales tax in Nashville-Davidson 10.25%. And additional revenue sources included a 0.25% hotel tax, a 20% surcharge on the existing rental car tax, a 20% surcharge on existing business and excise tax, and bond proceeds. And all of these tax increases will be rolled back by 2068. When coming up for vote, the measure was overwhelmingly defeated by voters with a turnout of 124,000 people. However, in 2023, Mayor Freddie O'Connell was elected and successfully got voters to approve his $3.1 billion Choose How You Move transit plan that would improve sidewalks, upgrade bus stops, and bus routes along with higher frequency of those buses. Notably absent from this plan was funding for light rail. Now, this hasn't had much noticeable impact on roadway traffic, but I guess it is better than nothing. So what about the roads themselves? Well, when Nashville's road network was designed, it seemed great. It functioned and served the area well. However, the engineers and planners of the 1950s had no idea what was coming. Many around the country did not quite foresee what type of development will spring up around America's cities, thanks to the interstate highways. So as I showed you on I-40, many left exits and tight merges were used. Due to these corridors being surrounded by dense existing developments, it can be difficult, expensive, or nearly impossible to update these interchanges with more modern designs. Nashville is effectively stuck with these outdated nodes of bottlenecks. When this is the case, your next option is to try and disperse through traffic away from the core city. Well, enter Interstate 840. Interstate 840 was designed to be a large outer loop to effectively get ahead of the future growth of the metro area. An outer bypass that can keep long distance and inter-suburban travelers away from Nashville proper for several decades to come. Here you can see the proposed full loop along with the unbuilt northern section. This northern section was placed on hold by Tennessee DOT in 2003 due to concerns over cost and a lack of interest from local leaders in the proposed area. And currently, Interstate 840 is limited in its effectiveness for dispersing traffic around Nashville. It is often pretty close to the travel time of staying on the mainline I-40 itself, while most of the traffic on Nashville's highways will rarely use this route. Any distance travelers remaining on I-65 or I-24 will still need to travel directly into downtown Nashville. And any attempts at building bypasses closer to Nashville's core are non-starters, and most of the existing freeways have already been widened. So with this strategic location, Nashville is also a major area for freight truck traffic, with its interstates expected to handle over 10,000 trucks per day by 2040. The freight rail lines are also overburdened in Nashville, leading to even more freight being moved by trucks. So all in all, Tennessee does not have an answer as to what to do about the interchange bottlenecks that are literally choking Nashville. Projects like the I-24 choice lanes aim to improve commuting between Nashville and Murfreesboro, but will not improve traffic flow in a disaster loop around downtown.
So in conclusion, we can say that Nashville's freeway system was simply designed without the foresight or knowledge of what was to come. You see, when this was originally built, as we discussed, these Y interchanges and their left exits seemed like a good compromise at the time. They could save money and they could make shorter ramps and everything worked fine. And also, if we look back at the 1950s and 60s, no one really knew that so many Americans would start flooding the southern United States. And places like Nashville will grow as fast as they have. As this population has exploded, the infrastructure simply could not keep up in tandem with that growth. Outdated interchange design, along with the existing development, has made it difficult to upgrade or modernize these outdated interchanges. And investments in alternatives such as rail and buses were overwhelmingly rejected by the population, though a much scaled down version was passed later on. It has not led to a major impact on roadway traffic. And some of that goes back to Nashville's design as a whole. You see, the pike and spoke layout of Nashville makes it very difficult to even build transit lines or new highways that could reduce the demand on the roads around downtown. So overall, at least when it comes to traffic, I would say Nashville is the closest southern metro to Atlanta. it is kind of stuck with what it has already, and not much can really be done, at least politically speaking, or in terms of cost. The sheer cost of upgrading those interchanges would be astronomical. So if you decide to move to Nashville, just make sure you are aware of what happens with the traffic in this area. I recommend you move to a walkable neighborhood, or else you're going to be spending a lot of time in traffic. Nashville, Tennessee. Country music, bachelorette parties, Broadway, hot chicken, and traffic. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.